Looks like we're live again. Hey everybody. I think we're live. Yeah. My YouTube studio decided to stutter on me right when it went to show live, so I think everyone's here. Thanks for tuning in to another stream. My name's Dustin Brett. I'm a software developer up here in Canada, in Vancouver in British Columbia. This is a 22nd week / episode. Sorry, I got some loud cars outside. I usually close my window, but it's nice fresh air today. 22nd episode we're in of this stream of a project where I'm attempting to make an OS in the browser as close as I can get. Not really including a bunch of stuff that you consider a real OS to have, but I'm doing the fun parts of the OS for now. And maybe down the road I could get more crazy with it, but there's always going to be limits, I think. I'm doing it in the browser, so that's its bubble, but within that, I mean, in theory, you can have an OS. When you consider the fact that you can run those emulators and stuff, I mean, that's running an OS. So you could make one completely from scratch, but I'm not really doing that conceptually. I'm more doing like a simulation of that or something. One day I'm going to have a good example, a good wording for it. I mean, they have different names for this kind of thing. Web desktop, what's some other names for it? I mean, just desktop environment, but there's more to it than that, I would say. Web desktop probably sounds better. If you like what I'm doing, if you checked out my other videos, or this is your first one and you're enjoying it so far, you want to give me a little support, please throw me a like, especially if you like it, obviously. And please subscribe would be great as well, because then you can keep apprised of when I release the new stuff, like these scheduled streams, which are every Saturday at 9 Pacific time, or just whatever, if I happen to release some other video. So who's to say, who's to say when the next one will be? And just recently I've decided for this project, my new plan is going to be that I'm going to release it on my birthday, which is actually November 26th. And it's the same day that I released my V1, my version 1, that kind of originally gave me the inspiration to do it again and try a little bit better with this version, which I'm doing now. So that gives me about 6 more months to work on it. So I'm pretty excited to see what I can do in another 6 months, because I've already had... I mean, I guess, has it been 6 months? No, it's been like 5 months, I guess, because we started January 2nd, and today is May 29th, 2021, so it's been a lot. Like I said, 22 weeks, so 22 times 7, roughly that amount of days. I'm going to be just drinking water today. I was powered by Red Bull earlier, but I didn't have the patience to wait for you guys, so I decided to start without you. And it's done now. But yeah, with those pleasantries out of the way, I think we can get into it. As far as show notes, stream notes today, I did not write anything. I was pretty lazy today for that. But we do have my code changes that we kind of look at every week. At least that's the format I've been using for a while, ever since I've started working on it so heavily. Oh, also I was going to mention, I forgot to mention, this wasn't here last week, but if you see behind me here, we now have a post-it note board, instead of writing on the whiteboard. I found it to be a bit more colorful, a bit more visual, and a bit more fun. So like in the evenings, I'll kind of walk up to the post-it board over here. There it is. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's easy to point at. Looking at the camera makes it harder to think where I'm pointing, but I know where it is. It's right there. And yeah, I just walk up to that, kind of look at one of my notes and decide, yeah, I'm going to try to fix this today. And then when I'm done with it, I move it over there. As you can see, there's 10 notes there. The red ones are bugs. Purple ones are like nice to haves. And the, what are the yellow ones? The yellow ones are gotta do's. I got a message here from Daniel. Red Bull partnership, my friend Daniel here. Red Bull partnership off. Missed the required 45-second promo. Yeah, you're right. Which, well, I mean, I did have a kind of a promo. I guess I'm saying it was so good, I couldn't even wait for the video. I had to finish it. So, Red Bull, drink responsibly. There we go. Not sponsored by Red Bull, by the way. But it'd be funny if one day that happened, because I am kind of known for my energy drinks in some circles. And I stop them occasionally, but then when my heart gets better, I like to try them again just to see how it goes. So, anyways, yeah, thank you, Daniel, for tuning in, by the way, and your comment. All participation is very welcome. Either throw it in the live chat or comments after the fact, and I'll respond quite hastily, depending on time zone restrictions. But yeah, so this posted thing's been fun anyways. I think it's a nice little colorful addition. It's like $7 for the real post-its, the legit ones, not the fake ones. And they've been sticking, but I don't know if they'll stay for another 6 months or whatever. Daniel's saying, you'll receive your check in the mail. Well, I don't know if that's okay or not, you know? I don't want to profit from this at all because I'm already copying so many things that I probably shouldn't be copying. So please, no one send me money, I guess. Unless it's Microsoft, I guess. That would be okay, I suppose. But maybe Red Bull's okay too. I guess I could be, yeah, is it okay? Well, I'll let Red Bull decide that. I'll await the check. Thank you. So yeah, back to the without further ado part. So I've done some changes today. Again, sorry about the show notes. If you see my show notes here, other than my prepared introduction, so I remembered what to say, I pretty much have nothing here, including even my NPM updates. I know are going to be a failure, I believe, because there's some wonkiness going on. I mean, I guess we can take a peek at it. Let's take a look. But I've been having some trouble this week with NPM updates, and I think it's one of my dependencies. But rather than track it down, I've kind of just given up for now on that. But there have been some interesting updates. This TypeScript update is actually quite large, and I think it might have even been what broke something else. I think some of these we can do. Let's try to be selective with these. Actually, let's just try to do an NPM update and see how far that gets us. But when that fails miserably, we will try to be a bit more selective. Let's give it a shot. So yeah, I usually start with the NPM updates. It's boring, but at the same time, it's a tradition around these parts. And in the meantime, we can look at the package.json file. That's another exciting adventure. What's changed recently? Nothing. Trying to keep these dependencies low. That's always important, I find. I'm having some problems with this browser.fs dependency, I think, if you guys remember from last stream when I tried to do deletes and renames. Okay, so there's tons of errors here. Let's scroll up. I think, yeah, what's the main one? Express serve static core. I'm not really sure which thing is failing first. It's a lot of big fail, you know. Anyways, let's like I said, let's try a more selective approach. So no files changed. Works for me. Let's try to upgrade just a couple of these, like fflate. Can I get this one under my belt? fflate at this. There we go. This is a pretty cool zip and unzip library that I intend to kind of integrate more with the context menus as well. I think that's last episode I did the context menus. If anyone wants, just by the way, I got the console running up here, and if you see I right click, now I have a context menus that look somewhat Microsoft-y, hopefully. I think they're pretty close. My icons are still a little hesitant to load. If you guys see, you see that one loaded slow. Also, one thing I like that I've done here is the icons indicate which program it loads in. So this one, that's the JS DOS icon. This is the v86 icon. That part's pretty good. But down the line, one of the tickets on my board here is to kind of optimize the images. Because I think partially the issue is that the servers that I'm running, this next server, the development one especially, has like 0-second time on its images, so it re-downloads it every time, I've noticed. But in general, I just want to find a most optimal approach, and I think I might even pre-cache all the images after the page loads, just so that if people jump into the start menu really quick and try to jump to an icon, that they don't have to deal with any loading, if I can manage that. Also, it's very small. Like all the 16 icons that I have so far, which I think is like 10 or 11, is like 5 kilobytes total. Got another message here from Daniel. I was also seeing this issue in GitHub Actions since adding browser.fs, not on Mac though. Oh yeah, you've been having an issue with sorry, what was your issue? I just spoke about so many issues is the problem. So not the NPM broken issue, but the browser.fs rename delete issue possibly. I saw an issue in a pull request about discussing fixing it along with a PR, a work in progress PR, but it was from 2018 and it was never really finished. But it seemed kind of relevant to my issue. I'm going to dig into it deeper because it's pretty critical that I have the ability to do deletes and renames. So it's definitely something that I'm going to have to figure out. But I'm just going to leave it for now because it's actually going to be a hefty task to track that down. And nobody else is updating browser.fs right now, so it's a tough one. Oh, also this episode, just as an FYI, we're going to make a little bit of the start menu because I think that'll be a fun one. We're also going to fix quite a few little Webamp things involving the animation and that kind of thing. And I think we're just going to fix a lot of bugs. If you guys see from those notes, like I said there, that there's like five or six red ones I fixed. So we're going to take a look at those. Another thing from Daniel here, TypeScript complaining about syntax errors, semicolons and such. Yeah, the NPM updates have just been really messed up in a few different places. I'm actually having the same problem at work with our repos. It's a different issue, but it's the same thing. Like a lot of dependencies just breaking lately. I think it might be related to TypeScript 4.3. It is actually a big change for certain parts, so at least that's part of it anyways. It looks like FF late failed as well. Okay, so I'm just not going to do NPM updates this week. Whatever. Let's just get it. Yeah, I'll say no NPM updates. I'll update my show notes there. Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. And maybe some of this stuff too. Nice. Okay, so I'll commit that change. Beep, beep, beep. Nothing. And then we get on to question mark. Okay, so for question mark, I'm going to go to the browser and figure out what the heck it is I did today. So yeah, let's just start going over the little ones and kind of iterating through them. I've also just noticed recently, kind of as an observation, that these streams have been really good for my commit history in regards to this branch, because the fact that I kind of talk through each one and then commit it and push it, I've got like, how many commits do I have now? Like 5 on redo, maybe 400, I guess. And they're all well described. Yeah, 381, and each one of them actually legitimately describes something. And even better so, if you hover over, oh, you guys can't see the tooltip unfortunately, but if I hover over, I can see the exact minute that it occurred. And then I suppose I could go to the YouTube stream and actually see each one of these things. I was thinking even maybe at some point I might try to figure out a way to link them up, because it's interesting to have a GitHub repo with hundreds of commits where each one of them actually has a video footage of it occurring. I'm not sure what to do with that, but it's interesting data nonetheless. So yeah, let's start doing exactly the same thing. So first thing I noticed was the plugin import ESLint. I think when I did this originally, I probably just didn't read this in the documentation properly, because I had this one here, and I think I was like, oh, I need this one because I got TypeScript, but I think this one was like right above it before, and I legit needed it anyways. Yeah, see, I think I was just reading it again the other day, and it says here about, hey, use recommended, or you can use these two. And it's like, okay, why am I not using those? And then I look down here, it's like, oh, I remember saying I need this. I think this comment threw me for the loop. This line does the trick. Yeah, it does, but this one's good too. So, anyways, let's just add that. I don't know if it makes any difference, honestly. I feel more safe the more ESLint rules I have. Makes me feel more secure. I think where the heck did I put it? Above import, right. It's funny how some of these I do alphabetically as like an OCD kind of concept, but at the same time I probably shouldn't. And on that note, there's another change I was going to do. I was going to move prettier here, I think, because I pretty much read that for most of these prettier plugins, they suggest you having them at the bottom because it's typically overrides to kind of like disable things. So if you have some like disable here and then you have another extension where it enables it here, you don't want that. So I try to put these at the bottom just so there's no conflicts between ESLint and prettier. And it bothers me because then it's not alphabetical, which is frustrating, but not the case for the plugin, I believe. But for these extension rules, it does matter. Same with in ESLint. It matters the order here as well, which also I've decided to put prettier at the bottom. Okay, so that was an extremely minor change. Yeah, I'll just say ESLint extension tweaks and import. No, I'll just say tweaks. I don't want to get into too much details. All right, so this will be the first commit on the redo branch. Nice. It's in the bag. Oh man, I have to write this out. I should have copied that. I don't even remember. I literally don't remember what I wrote. What was it? ESLint extension tweaks, right? Yeah, next time I'm going to copy it. Okay, that was a real simple one. And then I do this. This is my little trick too, is that I just minimize these. I don't know if that's a trick, but it's less to think about. This one's so minor. I feel embarrassed to show you guys this one, but I don't like to have stray new lines, and this is the only one I noticed. I don't know when I made this little mistake, but Not gonna let that slide, unfortunately. No bad new lines. Or no missing new lines. Let's not give that one another thought, right? But I am gonna note it because that is of critical importance to history. What do they call it? Posterity? For posterity's sake? Okay, so let's try to go here. Yes, so I've decided to do this close with transition, which is actually something I was missing before. If you guys see here, I've done close ID. And this is something an observation I missed. Oops, let's just nuke everything there. Close ID, where was it? Here. So that is just closing the app if I type exit in the DOS window. But the problem with that, and then I'm also using it in Webamp, and there's a problem there with it too, is that in the window actions, I'm doing it the right way, which is that I want to do close with this true part where I say closing. And then after the window transition is complete, then I actually close. So in the window case, I'm doing that, and that allows them to fade out properly. But in the Webamp and JS-DOS case where I type exit, it's just karate chopping it. So I've decided to turn this into a command or a function or a method. If you want to use the word method and don't know the difference, because I do not. I'm sure there is some difference. Anyway, I've just copied it. So I've decided to put it in the window functions here. I feel like it's for Windows. It's specifically about Windows closing. And even just the close command. I mean, the close command itself is not specifically about Windows, but this is, because it's about a transition needing to occur and needing an extra little bit of time, basically. And this is a mechanism we decided on before. So it's the same code here, same as like in the window actions here. I got too many little pieces open here. Let's get this out of the way. Let's get this out of the way. There we go, just the code. Just raw code. If that's a little too small for you guys, please tell me and I'll zoom her in. But for now, let's just stick with that. So yeah, it's these two lines. I've just moved into this function called close with transition, where we pass in the close function. Oh, I've actually made a kind of a lazy type here, by the way, which I'll just paste in here. Actually, I prefer to have the types at the top, so I'm just going to put it there. But yeah, I've made a type where I just take the existing process context state and I reference the close piece of the definition, rather than redefine it or anything, or kind of separate it out. This is just my way of doing it. And then I make my own type for it called like the process closer. So this close function is for closing processes, but it still requires an ID. So that we can do this. So we can go close ID true and then this. And I was thinking about this. This doesn't seem super efficient. This seems like, hey, can't I do this in close? But I'm not sure I can because of the way that I use close. Close is like bound to like making an update on the context. So I don't think I could within here do two updates properly because it's just not the way that I have things bound. It could mean that I need a bigger refactor, but I found this to be a clean enough solution. And it allows me to use close in a few different ways, but combine it in this case in a way that seems to work fine. So, and we're going to need this in a little bit because I've moved away from Webamp. I didn't have it properly doing the animations, but I found a way through kind of these kind of cleanups to allow the same kind of use window transition hook to also use that in Webamp. So I already have it used for all the windows that are my windows that I control, whereas Webamp, I don't control its container, but I found a way to do it, at least in this case. So anyways, that's that function there. And now let's just use it in all those cases. I'm just going to go find, well, I guess I already found it, haven't I? Because I'd already searched for it a second ago. So it's this one's here, specifically all three of them, I guess. So this is the Webamp close. That's going to become close with transition. And we got to import it in there. Did it import correctly? It looks like it did. Nice. Sometimes it doesn't. This is the function. That's fine the way it is. This one here, yeah, so we're going to upgrade it to be like that. And it decides to new line it here. Now, I actually don't like it when it does this. I'm okay if it can do one line where it's like condition and then right to the function. But when it does this, I almost just feel hesitant and I feel like, okay, let's just wrap it in brackets then. Because it just feels like it's dangling there. And it just makes me uncomfortable. So we're not going to do it that way. And one more place I wanted to replace it. Right. So in window actions now, this is the function we extracted. So now we can kind of do this. and we have to import it there, and we don't have to use the import that constant. Okay, we could have to reorganize this though. Oh, so here it didn't import it correctly. Nice. Did it do it for Webamp? Yeah, okay. Weird. I'm not sure the correlation there, why one worked and one didn't. Don't care. There we go. And what about in this case? Did it do okay? Yeah, in the other cases it was okay. So let's test that out really quick. So in theory, things should just still be able to close, I guess, is the only test. Opens, closes. Nice. And now, I guess there's another, oops, not Linux. I guess I could test now with the JS DOS. So now if I get out of Doom here, for some reason it gets really big when I get out of Doom. I don't know why. So now if I type exit, it should fade away. There we go. Whereas before, I mean, I didn't take a look before, but I think in theory it would have just, you know, that's the technical maneuver for that. Okay, so that gets us this piece here, which is all I did there in that change. Let's jump back to the code then and commit that. Let's double check. I think it was real simple. Yeah, so just switching from close to close with transition and slightly passing the function. And yeah, that's a little more consistent for our closes. I'm not married to any of these changes though. You know, they might change in time. Close windows with transition function. There we go. Close these guys just to get it out of my way because I don't know what the next thing is. Make a note of that. I'm not sure which of these are refactors and which are which. I might reorganize this later, perhaps even in the stream, but we'll see. Okay, so we just did those three. So this is getting into the Webamp thing. I think I don't want to jump quite into that part yet. I have done some Webamp refactoring, but let's just jump past it for a second here. And because there's actually a bit of a chunk of work there. So what have I done here? Oh, I did some styling, but I'm not even sure what I did here. Looks like I had the alphabetization wrong here. I can fix that. That's minor enough. Not only is it minor enough, it's almost as minor as is possible. So I actually should have noticed this last time. Sometimes I see a squiggly line and I don't even I'm like, but I have to think about it. Yeah, okay, so this is just an alphabetical thing because the way the alphabetization works here is it actually ignores the vendor prefix. So it's saying line clamp goes ahead of line height, which is true. Alphabetized styling. Yeah, at least a little bit. I'll say file entry styling, just to be a tiny bit more specific. So the next one I did, this one's confusing. I've added 2 padding. So let's go back here. Right, so it was 3 pixel padding, and I've added a 2 here, which will make, instead of all of it being 3 pixels, part of it is 2 pixels. So I need to see what it is. I'm just gonna look up here at the thing, and I'm gonna now that I've got context menus, I can't right-click inspect things anymore. It's a double-edged sword. I'm happy to have context menus, but I like being able to right-click stuff to inspect it. So I'm just gonna go to that piece right there and adjust the padding right now. So if we see here, I'm gonna adjust it on File Explorer. Yeah. Okay, so if I do 2 pixels here. So it almost made no difference at all. I think I remember what this was in regards to now. This is about the shadows. Yeah. I think the 3 pixel, oh, right. If you have certain text where it was, wait, was that it? What is this 2 pixel one? The second part of padding is top bottom. Yeah, it must be. Hard to tell though. No, it's left, right. Or what is it? Okay, yeah. So the second number is the left-right padding. So I cut a little bit less off. Before I had 3 padding on the right and left. Why did I go to 2? I'm trying to remember. I think I know. I remember I did an adjustment for the shadow. I'm hoping this is it because I'm going to claim that this is it. Let's take a peek at that change again. As far as what the shadow issue was, is like, so I have a 3 pixel shadow on the text, and when it was wrapping on the next line, but I had line clamp, it was essentially cutting the overflow of that extra line, but I could still see 1 pixel of shadow from the tallest letters peeking through. So I think line clamp, I think 2 pixels was okay for line clamp. Now I don't know why changing this, the width, made a difference. There was 2 parts to this. Yeah, I'm gonna ignore the z-index for a second, but I remember I changed the padding here, and I also changed the shadows themselves, which I think is at the bottom of this here. Yeah, here. So for the icon shadows, I got rid of all the 3 pixel pieces so that it was only the shadows made up of a 1 pixel and then a 2 pixel one. So you know what? I'm just gonna do those changes based on my guessology that is what it is. So let's just go back to the code here. So we've turned this to a 2, so now it's not all 3 pixels. Now it's 3 on the top, bottom, and 2 on the sides. And we're gonna go into the shadow for the file entry. No, I've lost what file was that? That was that's in the theme, of course, right? Sometimes I forget what I've put to the theme and what I've been too lazy to move. Eventually it'll all be in the theme, and it'll be very easy to know where that kind of stuff would be. And it's a color, I guess, the shadow, sure. So here's the text shadow for a file entry. I'm gonna get rid of all the 3 pixel stuff. So the shadow's not gonna go to 3 pixels, is my logicking understanding of what this change is doing. Yeah, now it's just 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And I mean, there's no logic to this shadow, it's just an aesthetic for the most part. So I made the shadow a little smaller here, and I made it a little smaller there. And one day this will all be in the theme, but it's just too much, man, right now. Especially when things are changing all the time. Although maybe you could argue that it'd be easier if it were in the theme, but So I've done the change. Visually, it's pretty much indiscernible. Maybe what I should have done sensibly was to show the bad one too, honestly. Otherwise, I don't understand the change. I was just harping on someone the other day about that. You need to understand the change. So I'm going to add some text here. So there we go. Got meow, woof. That's not enough to be on 3 lines. Bark, roar, I'll do. Okay, so now it's 3 lines. Tell you what, we're going to try to zoom in and see if that helps. So that's, oh, okay. Even in, this is even the fixed version, and I see something wonky going on there. What if I zoom out? Oh man, even at 100% I see that. Was this the fix for the shadow? Unfortunately, I think it was, and it's insufficient. Yeah, because like, it's hard to see at this mode, but when I zoomed in, you could see that this little piece of white right there is coming from the other words, because you'll see if I just make the word shorter, let me just get rid of those 2 last words. You see it's gone now, then it's back if I undo that change. I'm not a fan of that with line clamp. I really don't like it. I wonder if that's something that padding here could have helped. What if I increase the padding on the top bottom? No, that makes it worse. Oh, interesting. If I do the top bottom padding as well, I feel like that's better. So maybe I should have just done 2 pixels for everything here. And then I just get concerned about if I've lost the accurate height. Well, I think 2 pixels is better. So let's just do 2 pixel all around instead of 3. You see, now we're not seeing any of that bleed through from the text. Let me go back to 100 and see if I can see it. Yeah, it's not discernible now. So that padding was part of it, and having a smaller shadow as well. So then in the code, we are going to just use 2 pixels here for everything. And then, so a concern I have now with the padding changing there is it might have decreased the height, possibly, of the icon. I wonder if we want to play the MS Paint game again. Maybe we could do a quick peek at it. I don't know if you guys like it when I do these MS Paint sessions. Oh no, you guys lost me. I don't know. If you can still hear me, just give me a second and I'm coming. Here I am. There we go. Sorry for losing me for a second there. But I as usual, do not have the MS Paint portion of this video prepared. So I'm just doing it on the fly. I want window capture. I'm going to call it MS Paint. There it is right there. And I'm going to go over top of it. Nice. And I'll just lock these windows so you guys can see me okay, hopefully. Yeah, I think so. There's a little bit of delay in my YouTube, so if I look at myself to see if you guys can see me, I can't, but yeah, now I see it. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna paste that icon. That's my icon, and I'm just gonna copy one of my ones from my desktop, like my 5 terabyte hard drive here. And we're just gonna zoom in and see how close I am and see if we've lost that 1 pixel by shrinking the padding. I think we have. Yeah. And we lost 1 or 2? Oh, we lost 2. Oh yeah, because 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. So I think it's okay, but we can't rely on that padding anymore for this little piece. Maybe what we should do is switch to something like margin or something then. I'm just gonna go to that Calibri example here of that icon. So if we're not gonna have padding, oh, I have this wrong still actually. What the heck? Did I not save the code? Yeah, let me save the code. Oh, that made it even smaller. Is that the final product? Let me take another screenshot of how that looks. Let's go back to MS Paint for a second because I think it's even worse than I imagined. Oh no. Well, I just care about the height right now. I'm pretty sure the width is okay, but I messed the height up. Okay, it's still just the 2 pixels. That's good. Wait, is it just 2? No, that's 3 pixels. What happened here? Am I 3 pixels off now? Classic. 1, 2. Wait, 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah, why did I think I was 3 pixels off? I'm 2 pixels off. Okay. So let's fix that with margins, I guess. And then if I move that, let me see, if I move that down, 1, 2, how do I lose my icon alignment? Oh man, my icon alignment's messed up too? It's just messed up by 1. This is the kind of stuff that I don't like to tweak too much. We might just, I mean, I actually do like to tweak it, but what I'm saying is on the air, this just becomes a nightmare. LMNOP because I'm kind of just swinging wildly. Let's try this, 1 pixels and 0 there. I think that gives us back. I'm not sure. The thing is, every time you add CSS, there's consequences, I feel like. So the other shoe hasn't dropped on that yet as to what exactly I've messed up there. But as far as the height goes, I think sorry guys. I'm in MS Paint now. Now I'm over here. And I just wanted to double check if I fixed it. Yes, okay. So that fixed it. I'm just gonna trust that change for now. I'm not sure how happy I am with it, but I've switched the paddings. So on the sides, I've accepted. Why do I have any padding on the sides then? Oh yeah, I probably want a little because if the text is I don't want the text pushing too much into the box, but I think I'm okay with 2 pixels on the sides. And then on the tops, I moved it 2 because of the shadow. And then I had to adjust the margins on the tops because I care about exact height of that icon. Anyways, pretty much a minor change in the end. In the end, it just amounts for a couple of pixels. So let us make a commit of that. Let's just quickly review. Yeah, decrease text shadow by 1 pixel, shadow size. Yeah, that's a pretty decent description of what I just did there, I think. So that covers us here, and I also did the alphabetization there. So as far as z-index, this is a nice little simple change. What was the problem here? Again, I'm struggling to remember why the heck I did this. But let's take a peek at it because it's in the same exact area. Oh, nice. It's only in one place. So for the focus here, fig caption, I wonder if this was just the stealing focus thing. So one issue I had, let's check it out. I open a window and I can click here, I lose focus, click here to regain focus. Now I did a thing where if I click within, I was forcing it to refocus on the window. So now if I click here, you see I'm clicking desktop and it's focusing the window. So if I click out and I click desktop, it did focus the window, but it doesn't focus the icons in the same way that like if I click this one, you see now it's highlighted. These ones aren't highlighting because I'm clicking it and then it steals the focus right away. Now why I think moving z-index helped, I'm not 100% sure. But let's try. So let's move it. Oh, no, this is not that. Well, anyways, I've described a problem. That problem that I just described, I think I did fix that this episode, so we will get to that. But I just remembered this problem, what this problem is. So I'll show you what this problem is here. Oh, again with the right clicking. This right clicking, yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, there's no way for me to put my own inspect button in the code. So if someone clicks that, it opens up DevTools and works like an inspect. I don't think that is possible. Anyways, let me make this text longer. I'm going to make it really long. So File Explorer is very cool, and you probably wish you had one. There we go. So now it's really long text. You see, I've got this small part that it does, but if I click it, you see it makes it really big. That's not big enough. Let me make it even bigger. And it needs to be slightly bigger. There we go. So now when you click it, you see there how it's going over all top of that. Now my issue was, yes, you can see it actually. So if I zoom in here, so you see how it is properly going over the Calibri text. Is this, let me double check this. Let me just change it now and make sure this is what I think it is. I think it is. So I wanted to move it here. And let me save that. Yeah, there we go. So you see now when I click how the blue also goes over the icon as well. Yeah. Because if I look at this code change, I'm saying that, yeah, when it's focused within the icon, the background changes to background focused, but then everything also needs to go in front of the other icons. So the other icons don't have a z-index, so it's like 0, I guess. So putting 1 is like, I want it in front when it's focused. I think that's the logic there. So yeah, if you see here how the blue is clearly covering all of this icon. But if I undo that change, yeah, the icon part and the text is not blue. So the background did not go over. Okay, so that's a minor change, but yeah, it's obviously better. This is how it is in Windows, so that's how it should have been. If that's how it is in Windows, then that's how it should have been in mine. So file icon goes over top others when selected. When selected, when focused, when whatever. Okay, let's look back at the code. I want to get to that problem that I just explained too, but I don't know where it is in the code, so we'll get there when we do. This is the Webamp stuff. This was a minor little change here. I don't even know if I need to do this. No, it's not important. Right now, when you double-click ISOs, I have them opening in File Explorer, so you can look through them. I had another idea, actually. You know how with Windows, when you double-click something, or you can right-click and you can say Open With, and then it opens a dialog? I was thinking, oh, okay, I need that dialog. But then at the same time, I was thinking, I have context menus. I was going to put Open With there anyways. Why don't I just expand the Open With and just list the things that it can be open with, other than whatever the default open is? It seems more efficient, honestly, and I'm actually thinking, I guess the reason Windows doesn't do it is because they have so many programs and you can install others, so they want you to just have a dialog where you can pick. But I think for my app, it's perfectly fine for me to have some kind of global file extension registry and just allow that to be how people can do open with. And there might always be some generics, or maybe I might have some kind of file selection dialog too. We'll see. But it might be a way for me to avoid a dialog if I just do open with as a sub context menu. And in that case, let's say you click an ISO, I'll have the default action be to open it. So if you just double click it, it's going to open as a folder. But if you right click and go open with, you can open it in like v86 or something, or who knows what else. But for now, I don't need this. I just changed this for some testing purposes, so I'm going to leave that. So this is getting to the start menu. I don't know if we're there yet either. I want to finish some of these little refactors before we do the start menu as well. That's more of the start menu. Okay, so this auto resizing part is messed up. Without knowing what this change is, let's just start doing it. And then maybe backpedal to look at what the issue was. So I got rid of auto resizing here. let's just go to this page. This is the R&D window. Or is it? R&D window index. So it's this one here. So yeah, I got rid of the default here. Oh, I think I know what was happening here. I think this was for, because with auto resize, yes, I know exactly what this is for. Let's do a demo then of what I think it's for. So one annoying issue, let me zoom out here. This is too zoomed in. There we go. This is the Windows normal size. So when I open Doom and then I maximize it, that works great. But then when I minimize it, that is not great. And I think it turned out to be that it was doing a re-rendering and it was redoing, if auto size is true, go back to the default size, ignoring the fact that it's been auto resized. And I think that was just how fixing this. So we're not gonna have a default size here. Yeah, this is where auto resizing is controlled. Oh, and the reason why I had this logic was for initial load, I think. Was that on initial load, I was thinking, let's just have initial load reset so that every time you open up an auto resized window, it always starts small again. But at the same time, I'm not sure that makes sense, because every window is very unique. So I'm perfectly fine that if you opened up the Calibri shortcut and it resized to be bigger, and then you close it and you open up the Calibri shortcut again, have it be the same size, you know, and it's going to shrink back down because there's that boot loading screen, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. So yeah, that's why I decided to get rid of this completely and just be like, this isn't relevant to auto resizing. As to whether or not the R&D window is doing stuff. Yeah, with the R&D windows doing maximize, minimize, don't worry about auto resizing. I don't even know why I had that in there, actually. I mean, I guess I just explained to you why, but it's not good reasoning, I don't think. Okay, so I moved that out of there. Let's see if that fixes the problem. So now we open Doom again, we maximize, and then we unmaximize. There we go. It stays at the size that I want. That's much nicer. Maximize, minimize. Or minimize, restore, close. Okay, that's better. So that was that whole chunk right there. We'll just shrink that and then we'll commit it. So the change was, yeah, don't reset to default for auto size windows. Nice. Okay. Next, so we did this refactor as well with the close transition. I just hadn't closed that window. This is where we made the function, which we've also already made. So again, that also doesn't need to be there. What did I do here? I think I've changed the way focus works to be more sensible. Oh man, yeah, we're gonna have to go through this and try to remember what I did here, because I remember thinking this was more clever, but I don't remember why I did. So let's try to figure out together what the heck I was doing and what my motivations were. I'm just going to go to the file. The file is the use focusable hook. And within it, the first thing I did is move the z-index stuff. Why did I do that? So I need to know if it's minimized or not on use focusable. Yeah, as we do this change, I'm going to understand what the heck I'm doing here. So I want to get minimized in here. And I want to know if it's in the foreground. Don't I already have that? Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, now I know what this is for. Ha ha ha. So let us copy the other piece here. So you see right now, z-index and is foreground is here, but I actually am going to move those here because I want to add the minimize logic. So this isn't changing here. This is exactly the same. But the z-index piece has changed slightly in that before I was just using this calculation, but now instead of getting so let's say the stack is like which window is in front, and the one at the top is considered in front, so 0 index basically is the way that I've decided to do the math here. But if it's minimized, rather than subtracting the difference, I'm using 1. Basically the logic here is if it's minimized, I want its z-index to be above anything else. So I want like the length of every window plus 1 plus another 1, because here we have the length of every window minus whatever position I am in the z-index plus 1. Why am I doing plus 1? I don't completely remember. That was previous, but basically all I've done is change this logic here so that if it's minimized, I know that it stays in front of everything else. And the reasoning for this is because currently when you minimize a window, it automatically changes in the stack. And then as you see it transitioning, all of a sudden it's behind and it doesn't look nice. And I'm going to demo that actually before we change too much here. I'm going to undo everything I did because I didn't do very much. And let's just demo that terrible, terrible behavior. So I'm going to open Doom and I'm going to open File Explorer. So you'll see here, watch. So I have File Explorer here. So when I minimize, what I want is I want it to like go whoosh into there and not hide behind Doom. But watch right now. You see it goes behind Doom right away and you pretty much miss the animation. So basically I just want it to be, hey, when it's minimized or minimizing, I mean, as soon as the animation occurs, it's considered minimized and then the transition begins. So I'm saying when it's minimized, just have it be in front of everything, because when minimized transition finishes, it becomes invisible and then I don't care what its Z index is. So just while it's transitioning, make sure it's in front of everything. That's the basics of what I'm doing here. So let's get back to the down and dirty of it. So I was going to move these two down and I've changed them slightly to also count for minimized, which I'm going to take here. I already have it from my use processes hook where I have the processes array and I'm pulling based on ID to get the data I need. Now I've changed the logic a little bit here. I'm going to paste both. So it's the move to front function that I changed. This function gets triggered often. It gets triggered on load, and it also gets triggered whenever the foreground status changes, specifically to true. So whenever one of these use focusable windows becomes in focus, then it triggers the move to front function. And that's where we want some additional logic here. Wait a minute. Why did I change move to front? I'm getting way ahead of myself, perhaps. Let's just see where this gets us, because actually this is a good chunk of what I thought would be relevant to what I just said. So let's actually see if just that alone fixed it. I have so many fixes in this commit, actually, because of all the bugs that I fixed there, that I lose track of which fixes are which and which ones were really simple. So let's try again. Minimize. That did it, actually. So you see, as it was minimizing, it was clearly in front of Doom the entire time, whereas before it was slipping behind. So it's a good thing I tested that before I got any further. So this is some other fix for some other thing, maybe that other issue I mentioned. We'll get to that in a second. But this is all that was required for what I just did there. So let's give that fix a name. Keep in front Dreen minimizing. Minimizing? There's how many? There's 17 M's and I's in minimize? Minimizing. I don't care if it's right anymore. I'm done with it. There we go. I think all of these have mostly been refactors so far. Close windows with transition. Yeah, these are all totally what I would consider refactors. So what did I do here? I'm now checking related target. And I'm looking if the active element. I think I've reduced the amount of times that focus occurs. I think it was causing issues somewhere. I'm definitely going to implement this, but we're going to get back to it when I have a better way to explain what the heck I just did there. This was a really minor refactor, it looks like. Although I've done some math tweakage there. Why did this minus become a plus? That seems like an error. Yeah, I think in both these cases, this should have been a minus and this probably should have been a minus. This was a good one. This I had to flip around. Why was that though? I should go over there and grab my bug list and see what I actually fixed. I think we'll do that in a little bit. But for now, let's do these little minor refactors. Because yeah, I've confused myself here. So I've split this into two just because I preferred it like that, I think. Yeah, because I have this for a few of the other ones, so I think it just made more sense to split this up. We'll just call that one active, and this one's initial, and then we don't even need that. And I've also changed the long-winded static maximize variant to just be called base maximize and base minimize. And then we'll update where those are being used. There's base minimize here, base maximize there. And I changed, man, I made a lot of little minor tweaks. Crazy amount. So that allowed me to make variance a little smaller, actually. So now the variance thing, I thought that was small before, but now it can just be like that, which is, I think, a little bit cleaner. So let's just save that as an initial very minor refactor. Yeah, that's just a word thing basically. It didn't break anything. Refactored variable names for window transitions. Transition variants. Let's just say renamed variant variables. I don't like it, and I've committed it. Do another save there of my notes, because I don't want to miss that in case one day it all makes sense. What else did I change here? So that gets rid of that. So this change here, I'm pretty sure this was a minor one that made sense for some reason. Why did minimize have to occur before maximize? Oh, I think I know why. I think it's another one, yeah, where these are like simple ones. So for this one here, so if I maximize a window here, and then I minimize it, yeah, nothing happened. It obviously didn't work the way we'd expect. So I think it was just as simple as flipping this, that minimize should take precedence. So now if we go to the browser and maximize and then minimize something maximized, there we go. That looks pretty nice. I'm not a huge fan of the way it transitions kind of into the middle, but it's an edge case anyways. Typically it transitions the way I want. So that was another minor one. So fix minimizing, I'll say allow minimizing when maximized. Monorail. Okay, what was next? So now we just did all of that little part there. So what was the wonky math thing I did there? And what have I done here? Okay. So this makes sense, I guess, actually, other than this part. I'm not gonna do it exactly the same. So basically here, I was accounting for the taskbar height on the Y part, I think. So like if this is a taskbar item, I was making sure that the transition would at least stop in the middle of the height, but I wasn't caring about the width for some reason. I was letting it be at the start of the taskbar entry. And I think for fairness, it should probably not be the case. So let's just do that and call this width. And then also bring in width from here. There we go. So I don't think that's going to make much of a visible difference, but is it better or worse? I think it made a difference for the worse. Maybe those should have been pluses and not minuses, and maybe that was part of my oversight originally. Maybe the pluses were more correct, because it actually did look worse there. Let's try that instead. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, past me knew better than future me does. Or present me, I guess. I don't know future me. Yeah, okay. That's actually way better. So that probably was already incorrect, and maybe adding the width was making it more incorrect, and rather than switching it to a plus like I should have, for some reason I thought subtraction was the answer, and it's never the answer. So, okay. So, more accurate taskbar minimization animation to the nation. There we go. What else did I do on that file? I really did a bunch there. That was this piece here. That was the math that actually was better that way. So I switched the opacity slightly here. What was this for? Or this is scale. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I think I did notice that it didn't feel small enough. So I'm going to go from 75% the size to 65% on shrink. I think that fits a tiny bit better with Windows. Actually, maybe 70%. Okay, 0.7, sure. I just saved a byte. Okay, slightly smaller, minimized scaling. The most minor of adjustments. What's next? So I think that covers us for this entire page. Did I actually change any of these values? Oh, I did. This was something, an oversight here. Wait, why did I do this? This seems unnecessary. I've got it height inherit in both. Maybe that is better, but I don't know why I did it. Maybe I could just have it in initial anyways instead of active. Yeah, under active, I have the height as inherit. Maybe the height should always be inherit. Why do I even need this? This This is one of those things where if I remove it, something's going to explode, but I don't know what. Let's take a peek. So I'm going to refresh here, open this up. I think it's like after I maximize and then unmaximize, it's all broken. Yeah. Okay. So what if I just have it in initial though, instead of in active? Because initially I want to inherit, could I even put initial here? In initial, I want it to just be initial. Pretty much the same concept. Let's try this again. Oh, was that what I saved it as, or is that just broken? Okay, yeah, that's just not correct. So, I mean, I knew inherit wasn't initial, but did I just make up initial, or is that a thing? Who cares? So let's try again with inherit. Okay, that's correct. Resize is working now. Nice. So maximize. Oh, wait. Okay. That was funny. It just completely shrunk into nothingness. So was both the answer, or was only one needed though? Why did I have it on both all of a sudden? Is it just trying to be overkill with it? Let's put it back here on active. Refresh the page again. So this works. Maximize, minimize. Okay. So I don't know why I added it to initial here, but we're not going to do that because it doesn't seem necessary. And it was already inactive, so now that's not even a change. So I'm happy to not do changes. Okay, this can be closed then, I think. That file is donezo. This is back to the start menu, which we're going to get to. This is also the start menu. Yeah, this is this. We're going to save the state of the start menu opening in the session. So past me was able to get the package updated, but NPM, as we've said, is broken now, so I'm not even going to worry about that. We did the shadow here to the smaller shadow. This was another one. I don't know at what point I think I had down level iteration, because I think I was, there was some reasoning behind why I did. I was iterating over something where this was required, I guess, but when I hovered over it today or yesterday, it meant more compliant but verbose and less performant JavaScript for iteration. I obviously don't like that less performant part, or the more verbose. I don't really care for that either. So I'm just going to remove this because I removed it in a test and it actually didn't make a difference. So maybe the code that I had that needed that doesn't need it anymore. So I'm going to say don't need down level iteration anymore, question mark, until I run into an error, you know. I did ESLint and builds and stuff and I wasn't getting any errors anymore. So I'm just going to consider that that wasn't actually a problem. So we just did a bunch of stuff there. Before I get to the start menu, I wanted to figure out what this change was. Let's take a peek at my bugs really quick. 1 second. What do we got here? Windows properly minimized or maximized. Can't minimize, no. Animation sometimes goes too high. Restore for maximized. I don't know if it's any of these. Oh, maybe this is the focus thing. That's what this is, yeah. If you guys remember earlier, I explained how my icons, if I click the icon here, it's not focusing like how it focuses here. That's, I think, what this code is. So let's dig into it. Actually, let's go back to it here. So it was just me changing the move to front function within the focusable hook. That makes sense that it was related. So let's go back to that use focusable hook and let's just paste in both of the functions so we can take a peek at the difference. So here's the existing one and here's my magic changed one. What's the same? So this piece is completely the same, the stack order, the foreground ID. So yeah, this happens. I see. So now I conditionally say whether focus itself needs to change. So it's like, okay, whenever you say move to front, we'll put it to the top of the stack and we'll set it as the foreground ID. That's fine. But whether or not we actually change the focus to another HTML element, that should be more conditional. And what I've done now, before, where's use callback? Yeah, before here, I wasn't even getting what caused the move event, move to front. Because you see, in this case, nothing's passed in. And in this case, probably also nothing's passed in, but here, when an on-focus event occurs, it's using the actual React to synthetic event for focus event, and it is passing in the event. So then I can actually get, well, what was the related target? What did you click? And then what I'm doing here is that I'm using that to check for it. So how's this condition start here? So based on the current window, to see if it contains the active element, right? Okay, so that's reasonable. So now I'm saying if I click within, let's say so active element is whenever you click on the browser will become whatever document.activeElement is, assuming that it has the ability to be focusable. So when I click an icon that's in the file explorer, I'm checking here first. Within the file explorer DOM element is the element that you clicked within there. So if it is, then we're not going to change focus because we're already focused in the window then. It's fine, basically. Is that correct, that logic? Maybe not. The concern I have now would be if it's not focused and then I focus on the window by clicking the icon. Is there a reason why I would expect that not to work? We'll try that case. Let me make a note of that. Unfocused window, click icon first. Does it focus window? Okay. So let's say that the element you clicked wasn't. What is this here? So yeah, so this checks to see if that element that you clicked was within the window. If it wasn't, it's going to see here, say, is there no related target? So if there's no related target, then it was triggered by this or by this. Because if it was triggered here, it would have passed a target in. So if there's no target, okay, focus, because it either became foreground or it was the initial load. Or if the active element is the taskbar, also, okay. I think this is a secondary fix, possibly. I think the idea here is that the window is focused. Okay, so there would be a target here. So an onFocus event occurred. No, the onFocus event wouldn't have occurred though. Right. Yeah, because if this is triggered, there's a good chance it's because it was the onFocus event. I'm confused by my own logic here slightly. First time it's triggered, yeah, because in this case and in this case, it's going to check here. Okay, so I'm worried that in this case, it's not going to focus on the window. And then I have it here, so if you click the taskbar entry, it also refocuses on the window. That is correct, that's what I want. That's something I didn't have before, I think, so that's nice. But this is still unanswered. So anyways, I've explained the logic. It's pretty much like it was before. I just split up this piece and make these conditional based on different conditions. And they're complementary. So if this is false, then it matters for these two. It's important that it's in that order. So, but let's take a peek. Let's try it out. So now if I refresh here, so we open the window and we're in the window. So now when I click, there we go. So now I can focus the icon. And if I click here, it unfocuses. So what I wanted to test was if I click the icon, does it also focus the window? It does. There's probably a sensible reason for that. Maybe onFocus is triggered and then the onFocus for the child is triggered. That's probably sensible. So it's actually exactly what I want. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, you see, now it's working much better and it's not stealing focus. And you see here, so if I click the taskbar entry, now it's focused on the window. So now if I click off, it unfocuses properly. Because I basically take this, I allow this to pass off focus to the window, and then the window handles most of the focusing logic through this focusable hook. Okay, so that worked. So I'm happy with that. That's a nice little fix. What was that? That was, right. It's like conditionally focus, I'll just say what I fixed. Allow focusing elements within windows. Yeah, basically that didn't work before, honestly. So it is that big. Couldn't focus. because the window itself would steal the focus. Okay, there's another commit in, although it's a slow commit. There we go. That took a while. That's weird. Back to the code. So that was that other piece that we hadn't dealt with. We already did this piece. That's closed too. So I think all that's left is the start menu part and the Webamp part. I think we'll do the Webamp part first because I haven't finished the start menu. We're gonna do it, what we've got, but it's not enough basically. So as far as issues with Webamp, there's a bunch of them. Let's just try to look through the refactoring here and see what all I did. So I added URL here at one point. No, I just reorganized alphabetically. I got rid of minimized. Let's do the animation piece. So here's a little to-do I had. Replace with framer animation. Basically, I want to use the use transitions. Actually, let's do a demo of how it looks right now. It's pretty rough. So Webamp opens. It opens correctly. You can drag it around. But if I minimize, you see it just disappears. If I open it up again, it just disappears. If I close it, it just disappears. So not very fun. There was no animations. There was no fading. We want them. Let's see how much it takes to get them. So I'm going to open up the Webamp index. Oops. Through a series of keyboard smashings. And then we'll find this here. Yeah, so let's just get rid of this piece. So currently what I have here is it gets the element and then is literally updating displayed to either be none or block, which is just gross. I don't like that at all. Okay, so we get rid of that. And now we don't even have to monitor the minimized status here. We can monitor that somewhere else. We'll save that piece. We also don't need the get Webamp element. Nice. Another piece done. So we're going to import the window transitions hook just like we had it. Where else is it? It's in the window itself. There it is here. So this is within the window what is this? It's in the window, yeah, the window index. And within it, we have this hook here called use window transitions, where it just it makes the window transitions from this hook and then passes them into the right motion object that goes with framer motion. So I'm going to do basically the exact same thing. I'm going to use I call it container ref here rather than window ref. We'll import actually we'll just copy the import here. Save ourselves a second of a failed import, I'm sure. Do alphabetization. And then we're going to take the window transition piece. I'm going to minimize some of this. It's in the way. So this is going to become the motion div now. I'm going to put the transition piece here. So we'll just dump the window transitions from framer motion there. And we're going to have to add a couple other pieces. So let me just see, what are the other pieces we have to add? So we're going to make it a motion.div. Now I'm just going to jump right to the step where I make it a styled Webamp. I make it a styled component. We'll make it here, const styled component. Let me just copy it as it is. Actually, let's just go right into making a file. Let's not even do this other intermediary step because I have a file for it. So we'll call it styled webamp.ts, and it's going to be our styled Webamp component. And it's basically just this here. So this is the same syntax that I used in the window, the styled window. So you see, this is the styled component syntax where you say styled, and then you pass in a component, the motion.section in this case. And in this case, I have TypeScript as well. So that's a loaded line. But here I just say styled component that's going to be a div from the motion framer motion divs. Now the reason I did this is that the base container is kind of, it doesn't contain any of the actual Webamp part. There's several more divs there, but I noticed that when I was doing minimizations, it does them on this window, and because it essentially was like it was almost like it was in the bottom corner, but it was so big that it was working. It was really weird the way I had the container. But basically, this fixes the issue of minimization, and we'll go back to this actually, and we'll show you it not working in a minute. So I'm just going to change this here to be styled Webamp then, because that's what it is. And we'll import it in. I actually have the import line, so I'm just going to also paste that in. I don't know where it goes, but I'll just paste it at the bottom here, and then autofix will do alphabetization for me. There we go. So we got our styled Webamp. That's a div from the motion with motion props. We passed in our motion props here, which are coming from window transitions. What is next? I think that's it, honestly, for the motion piece, other than, actually, no, there's two other pieces to it. So one other tricky little piece is that the closing, actually, maybe I can show you these things occurring, because then you get a little more context for its wonkiness. Well, there's actually several wonkiness things going on here, so it's going to be a little more confusing when it comes to knowing if our animation is going to work the first go. But let me just get centered again with what it was I wanted to do here. Let's get back to the changes. So I'm trying to sort through them because I've changed focus and blur quite a bit to fix a lot of my z-index issues and my stacking issues that I'm having with Webamp, but we're not going to get into those yet. Yes. Oh, right. Oh, cool. So I was thinking I needed to change this use window transition hook, but I'm actually starting to think it might just work. Let's just try this out because I actually don't think I have any other changes for it. So now when I open Webamp, I think it blurred in there. Oh, actually, let's clear the cache for positioning so it goes back to the center. Let's refresh this page. So now when I open it, it should be centered. Yeah, that's centered. Now we see if we close it, that was wonky. That's not right. There's two issues there, I think. But let's just try a few other things first. Let's reopen it again. So what if I try to minimize? There we go. So now we have minimize with fade and animation. Yeah, there's several issues. So one issue is that clicking the taskbar for Webamp doesn't minimize. Another issue is that, watch this one. If I open another window and then I focus off of them, right now is it not happening? It might be something that I created earlier. Well, we'll see if I can break it again before I add a fix. But there was another fix where this was shooting back to the center. I don't know if I've added that. I haven't broke it yet, but we'll see. And then so another one here is when I press close, you see it didn't really fade right. There was some weirdness there. So let's fix some of those issues. One of them, interestingly enough, is within use Webamp here. So I've got a binding to on close. And I found out that it's actually better if I do on will close, because then I have access to a cancel function, which I kind of need. So let's get to that. So I've switched it to like a cancel function here. And basically we just have to run the cancel function first. So I want to tell Webamp, hey, don't you close yourself. I'll do that. And then this stuff here was already doing it. So there was a little bit of repetition by doing that on... By catching it at on close, Webamp itself had already started some kind of closing initiation process, kind of, that I was a little too late to stop. So that was the main change for that. Let's see how that gets us. Oh, I have to do some definition for that as well. Very minor, but let's just update the type for that. So it was on close, and I'm changing it to this on will close, with the cancel function that comes into the callback instead of nothing, which Webamp passes in. And this is just from reading the Webamp docs. So let's try that. So I just did this piece. Let's see if that makes the closing of Webamp a little cleaner. So let's see if it doesn't do the flicker. So there we go. So that was cleaner. Now I don't know why it's not doing that weird reset thing it was doing earlier. Interesting. If I minimize and unminimize. I mean, it's got some z-index issues that we're going to try to figure out. Yeah, interestingly enough, it's not doing that anymore. Let's do a quick test. Where was it in the code? It was... Well, let's just commit what we have, because we've actually done, I would say, pretty much everything as far as the... Let me just take a peek at the code here again. I'm just trying to see if there's any other parts to the animation we didn't do. We styled it. We imported the transition piece. This is getting back to focus, I think. We removed minimized. That's focus piece there. Here we got that piece. Again, animation, we removed that. This is the focus piece, focus. This is focus. Yeah, we did this, we did that. We got the type. Again, this is the focus piece, I think. See, this here is what I was concerned about. I felt like load winamp was reinitializing and it was causing things to recenter. But oddly enough, I'm not getting that. What I want to test though, because I thought that was happening, I want to go back to this line and do a console log here and see if this is occurring every time, because even if the bug is gone, that was inefficient and not necessary. So here it is here. So if we do console log dot hello, and then we go back to the code here, open up a console log. So we open Winamp, we get our hello, but is it doing hello every time I switch stuff? Doesn't seem to be. Interesting. I don't know why in my old code it was. Maybe that's something related to my focusing that I've broken. Probably it is. Let's get to there when we need to. For now, let's just remove that. But yeah, I think there's part of the code we're going to do next where I do focusing, and I think that's probably where I broke it. Got a message here from Alexander McLeod. Nice, the animation looks smooth. Oh, hey, Alex is a friend of mine, a coworker as well. Thank you very much, yeah. I'm using Framer Motion library, which is a pretty cool library that actually has a lot of interesting stuff. It's production ready, as they claim, and their API is quite amazing. Yeah, I really recommend them. They have some really cool demos here of all the different stuff it can do, and it's actually endless. I've only just touched the surface of all the different things it can do and all these little funny animations you can have. It's kind of what I use on my front page here for this piece here, where the icons fly in. And I might do something like that for my V2. This is the V1 though. For V2, currently I don't have any icon animations, but I think I might. We'll see if I get there. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. So the more the merrier. Happy to have people. So I want to commit my visual changes here for Webamp before we move on to the index changes and before I demo that and kind of fix any other Webamp wonkiness. So let's get a bit into that. Let me just make in the notes here that I've fixed or use animation. I'll just say framer animations for min, max, close, open. Now I've noticed for open it's a little slow. The issue is that Webamp itself takes about the time of the transition to properly load. And I haven't figured out how to stagger it so that when Winamp is like ready, the animation starts then. That's a little trickier. But as you see here, if I double click, you pretty much didn't see any fade in there. But watch, if I close it and I open it again, you will see fade in probably. There we go. So that time you probably saw some fade in because a lot of stuff was already loaded. So that's one little issue there. It's only really relevant to Webamp because it makes its own visuals. All my other windows, even while they're loading, the transition isn't affected that way. But for Webamp, it's a little trickier just because I'm kind of working with their container structure and all their wonky logic for doing a million things. It's not that wonky, but it's wonky for fitting in with how I have things here. Okay, so I've really simplified that, I think. I mean, these amount of lines were almost all I have here, and I've added a ton of functionality and been able to reuse a complete hook, which is pretty awesome. I was going to show you guys this piece. So watch, if I comment out this and I don't have any styling, and then I go into this here, watch when I try to minimize it, does something weird. Yeah, you see? I think what happens, like it considers the initial position to be like somewhere way at the bottom, and then the animation goes up to the taskbar. Because if you see here, you'll see like a little watch. Yeah, you see there was like a, whoa, very wonky. And after a lot of trial and error and just thinking about it, I decided to kind of lock the container in place, and that fixes it. So, oh right, I can't minimize yet. That's another problem, but we'll fix that one thing at a time. I've got a ton of focus issues with Webamp, and just in general because of my ADD, which I might not have. I don't want to be insensitive to anybody, but I've definitely got something. So, anyways. On will close, we added that, right? We tweaked that. That was a nice little minor tweak. Just instead of on close. Yeah, but this was actually wrong always, the way that I was doing it, because on close was, I didn't realize that Webamp tries to do some stuff to do on close and kind of clean up the DOM a little bit. And I never really wanted that to occur anyways. As it is, that I hate the way that it's doing the DOM, and I wish it would just pass me something that I could better link. There's probably some React component for it, but what I made here is good enough. Anyways, let me copy the text that I already wrote for what I just did here. Here we go. Use framer animation for min, max, close, and open. I should also note Webamp use Webamp framer animations for yada, yada, yada. We'll put that one in the bag there. Okay, so the next one was going to be fix z-index positioning. Fix z-index / focus issues, let's say. That's my lofty goal for this next one. And now let's take a peek at the code and see if there's what we got here. So I think that'll be an issue later on, but let's just get to it when we get to it. Here, I've almost done everything. We just did that. That was the styled Webamp component. So here we go here. Here's getting into that part. I'm just going to reopen the Winamp. Winamp's a few files. Every one of these things is a few files at this point. So we need to adjust the stack order. That was one of my first mistakes, is that with Webamp, at some point I might abstract this out to a hook, by the way. I mean, right now there's very few things I have that aren't in my window container concept. Webamp's the only one. So until I have another app, I'm not going to generalize this too much. I'm happy I was able to reuse the animation part. Oh, sorry guys, I should switch to the code even though I'm not doing anything. I was talking about this. So for Webamp, I'm happy this is generalized, but as far as like some of the focusing logic, it's a little bit repetitive, but until I have a second use case for another app that's not contained in my already generic windows, I'm not going to worry about it. So let's just get to that. So we need to update stack order. So let's get it from session. Let's get the initials, let's get the current stack order and also the ability to set the stack order. Now, where are we going to use that? So we're going to use it in the z-index, and we're going to use the same logic, or sorry, not in z-index. We're going to use it here. So we have this thing here where in either condition we are setting the z-index. So what we're going to do is just do this, and we're going to get rid of this condition and get rid of this piece here. And wait a minute, we can just keep getting rid of stuff then, because this doesn't look right. What did I do here? Actually, in my changes, I did this, but I don't like the way this looks. This is silly then. Is that how I have that? Oh yeah, I do. Oh, I got like a weird double conditional that's just a complete mess. I don't know why I was doing this. Oh, I have a triple. Wait, is this triple? No, it's just double. Okay, so that's a mess. This should just be an and. This and that. Why doesn't ESLint catch this? This is redundant garbage. Okay, unless I'm wrong, but that seemed wrong to me. That just looked bad right at the start. So we got to add this. So basically what I did is before I had some conditions where I was either setting 3 or a 1. Now I don't remember at what point I thought that made any sense, but I can't just arbitrarily be setting numbers. It just worked in my test where I was only using 2 windows. But the real reasoning, the real logic for it is this, and it's the same logic that I'm using somewhere else. I swear I'm using it somewhere else. I think it's probably just worded slightly different. Yeah, here we go. Yes, so when use focusable. Oh yeah, I've changed this part here. Maybe I just need this exact same logic in my minimize problem. Interesting. So I have this here where I define z-index up there. Maybe I should do the same here. Yeah, I actually have the same problem with Winamp, and I didn't resolve that yet, is that when minimizing Winamp was going under, which was the same problem we just resolved with this exact same little tweak to the stack order. So I'm thinking it might make sense to take that. I don't like that this isn't a Memo one. Same here. These are behind Memos, but this not. That's sloppy. Sloppy, wrong, correct. I don't know, but let's fix it. Not a fan of it. So I prefer it to be dependent on certain things. In this case, whatever this ESLint tells me it is. Yeah. So if these things change, the z-index changes. That's fair. And that's what I'm going to use here for now until I decide to generalize this logic, which I may shortly. So in that case, I actually need to know minimized again. I think I just removed this at one point, but now I need it again. And we need to import Memo. That wasn't part of the deal. And then that's just what I'll use here, I guess. Or could I just always calculate it at this point? No, let's not do that. Let's just do this. But only in this case do I care to set it. I could be setting myself up for failure with this because I had it one way and now I'm changing it, which I don't like. Let's just hope everything I just changed without testing works. And let's see what the next change was. So yeah, I've added the stack order. I'm using it. I was using it in the z-index part, wasn't I? Yeah, but I'm not using set stack order yet. Where does that come into play? That comes into play here. So I've changed the way on blur and on focus work. Let's copy the on focus piece and figure out that piece first. So before on focus was pretty simple. It was just when focus occurs, set foreground ID. Pretty much the same now. When focus occurs, set foreground ID, but I've also added the caveat to update the stack order. And this is another thing that I've copied from somewhere else. So again, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Ooh. I have it in several places, in fact. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Okay, just here and here actually is that logic of putting it to the bottom, or putting it to the top, sorry. This one here is just removing it. Whereas this, yeah, this is a very general function. I should update this. I'll generalize it in the future. For now, I'm happy with it because like I said, once Webamp needs another example, like another windowless component, then I'll consider making it more general. And maybe sooner, but for now I'm happy with this because I'm just copying. So all I did is add this, just putting it at the top of the stack. But I need to put this into like words like move to top of stack or something. Maybe I should just have another function, honestly. Instead of set stack order, maybe I just make the two things. Remove from stack or put to top of stack. That's probably what I should do. Where is it here? Here. Let's make a note. Instead of set stack order, do, or maybe I'll just make what I want it to be. Let's say top, move, or what do I want to put it? Append to stack? Prepend. Prepend to stack and remove from stack. There we go. And should I just go wholehearted? I'll do this in a minute. Let's just make that note for now. But I might do that. I might do that. We'll see. We'll see how we are on time. Right now we're pretty good. It's only been an hour and a half. So I've updated on focus. I also did something with on blur. What did I do? So before on blur is this set foreground, and I basically just changed it to be conditional. So if foreground ID, oh right, so this is where blurring. So we only want to clear the foreground ID if it was the foreground ID, and if the related, and if what blurred it is not a taskbar entry, right? So if you're in Webamp and you click the taskbar entry, don't count that as a blur. Don't reset the foreground the foreground ID there, because you're still focused on Webamp. And I think we even have some code that maybe refocuses it on the window in that case. So I think we're okay there. So we have to import the taskbar entry reference for that thing. Element of PQRSTU, so it's actually here. We have to set a default. There we go. Nice. I think that's all we needed for that piece. So now when we blur, we check it that it is the foreground ID and it's not the taskbar, then we clear it. And for here, we now pop it to the top of the stack. What did I change? Let me just double check what I changed here. Right, we added the z-index to update here. That's all I had for changes, as far as I can see. Oh no, there's other changes. I need to do some initial changes as well to the Webamp hook, the use Webamp hook. When I initially load it, I also have to set the z-index on initial load. So we're also going to need it there just to be even more absurdly redundant. Oh, it's funny, actually, in my code, I did use Mimo this time. I'm inconsistent. So here I had what I was calling initial z-index. Interesting, though. I have when the stack order changes that this changes. Does that make sense? Because this is a one-time thing. Oh, maybe that was my mistake. Because I made this so that whenever stack order changes, it would trigger to redo this. Because yeah, when the z-index loads here, I actually only need it to be... This is initial, so I know I want to focus on it. So I actually could be more simple here and just say, when loads, I want it to be the stack order length plus 1. Because this is only on load. So we need to access a stack order, which is part of the session here. So let's just get it right from there. I also added set stack order. When am I setting the stack order? Ah, okay, yes. This is another piece to the one day I'll do this generic puzzle. So when I close and it's a window, I remove it from the stack, but I wasn't doing that for Webamp. So that's another thing I need. So when we close the window, we need to remove our item from the stack of windows. I might have to think of a better way to clean that up. I'm not super happy with this, but this is where sometimes I think a little better planning could have helped me out. Hard to say. So let's see if all this works, because I've changed some stuff that I honestly had not changed before. Oh, okay, I've added a few stack things here. Right, I added that I'm checking the stack order length now. So if that changes, would this be re-triggered? Oh yeah, so it's still the same problem. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be the same problem. So I moved it up there thinking, oh, I'll be clever and have an initial one. But it's not going to solve anything, because every time stack order changes, it's going to rerun this. So now let's see what I did then, right? Let's see, I've broken it now. That bug I was trying to find earlier. Now I think I've just created it. So I open the window here. Oh. I think I know what I've done. So I think there's yet another issue here. Wait, where is this occurring? New window.webamp. Where is it? Here it is. It's occurring here because window.webamp doesn't exist yet. Okay, so I think this is part of the problem. So this is where I did just add the code. And now I think stack order length is triggering faster than Webamp has even existed. So this is problem number one. So watch. So this is the same steps that happened to me. So I fixed that by checking here. So we have a container element and Webamp exists. Okay, we can move forward. So now let's go back to the demo here. So we open it. So that opens okay. But watch. So I open up File Explorer, and now I move Webamp here, but then I focus on this and I focus back, and now it's not happening. Because the length didn't change. That could be part of the issue. Ah, yeah, you see I opened a third window and then the length changed. Oh, okay. So the reason this wasn't happening to me before, that was happening more often, because in my dependencies, I had just stack order, whereas now I have stack order length. So the stack order would be changing every time it flipped, and that was causing it to reset right away. But now that I'm monitoring length, it only changes when it's increasing or decreasing. Like one's deleted or removed or added, sorry. But it's still buggy as hell. So the final solution that I decided on was just to add yet another condition. So basically, the only time this is ever going to properly get that far is if there's a container element and the Webamp structure consists and it hasn't yet made it. So you see at the end of this function, it sets the Webamp CI. So I'm just going to say, if the Webamp CI doesn't exist, set it. Otherwise, we're not going back in there. And now it should work properly. So now when I open Winamp, so we move this over here, we move that over there, and you see it's not messing up. We open another window. Yeah, it's still not messing up. Okay. Now, one thing I haven't completely resolved yet is it's not super... Oh, wait, that's part of the z-index. So watch, I close this. So you see Webamp went to the back when I z-indexed it. And same with when it opens. It should be already in front, but it's at the back. So that was that other z-index issue. Okay, so this part of the code was actually okay. But why doesn't it... Wait a minute. So what if I set this to 2? Or what if I set it to like 99? I'm confused, like why on load is it behind the other window already? Maybe because z-index gets updated really quick with the wrong value. See, watch, I open it and it's going to be behind the window until it fully loads. Yeah, you see it was there. That's not what I want. Well, I haven't solved that yet, but anyways, this here is good enough for what I wanted, which... Oh, wait, yeah. Let's demo. It should be fixed now for multiple windows. So let's try it here. So I click there, I click this. There we go. Now it's properly interacting with the stack. Before I had it where I thought it was working, but then when I opened a third window and I clicked 1, it would like shoot behind 2, even one that wasn't like connected in the stack. So it was messed up. I still see some wonky flickering. I think there's some like z-index fighting going on or something. Something's getting set more than it probably should. I've also noticed that too. Watch, if I minimize here and then I maximize, you see it didn't go in front of this. Yeah, there's definitely some weirdness with onload z-index for Webamp. I'll make a note of it for next show. I've actually already got a note of it, so I'm not even going to make another note of it. That's just repetitive. I've got so many notes. I mean, look at them all there, and that's not even the ones that I have digitally. But sometimes I don't decide to make them into to-dos, so I haven't completely decided yet if I will for those. Let's take a look at the code and see. So I think we did everything that was involved in Webamp. We got that piece. We got yeah, we're doing that. We decided to do this differently, so we didn't need use Mimo. We made that slightly more efficient, I would say. That's good. And we had the blurring stuff here. Oh, right, there was another piece I wanted to test, was can I now minimize from the taskbar? So I click and I focus, and then the next click minimizes. There we go. That's how that should be. So I haven't fixed transitional z-indexing yet between min-max, but otherwise, and between close-open too, probably, yeah. But otherwise, that was good. And now the taskbar is allowed to minimize it because the focus part's fixed. So we've done everything that was here too. So that's all the Webamp stuff. So now I think it's time to get into some of the start menu, which shouldn't take too long anyways. I'm gonna adjust my body here. There we go. So let's go back into the code and commit that last Webamp change, where we kind of, we added the z-index here. Yeah, I mean, we've discussed all the changes. We had to do quite a few. Definitely the way it was handling focus wasn't complete before, but now I think it is. Other than that, this is transitional z-index that we'll fix later. Yeah, otherwise there's not too many. Oh, what happened here? Am I missing one now? Oh yeah, I had set stack order now, I guess, right, because I'm doing it here, but it wasn't yet part of the dependencies. Okay, that's why we need to review these things. All right, that's good. And then that's just a little note. I'm actually not even going to commit that note, so let's just commit these three things here and say, let's just actually copy what was written down. Fix z-index focus issues. I gotta mention Webamp. Webamp fixed z-index focus issues. There we go. Now, as far as this little one that I made the note on, maybe we could consider it. No, I think I'll do it another day because I haven't thought of the ideal way to do the refactor yet. And again, I don't want to waste your guys' time with humming and hawing about it forever. But I'm gonna mark this note. I'm just gonna put that note in my later ones here. I'm also gonna say the Webamp z-index transitions and the, what was this? I'll say split set stack order into prepend to stack and remove from stack. That's all I care about, actually. So we made notes of that, so I don't have the to do anymore, but because I do want to do that change. So let's get to the part where we do the start menu. So today all we're going to do is basically clicking plus some of the focusing and the size and a bit of the styling. But when not the nav bar, none of the buttons, and no files or a menu at all. So it's just going to be a container, a pretty container. And like I say, it's going to be controlled by the session. Let's do that part first. So basically my logic here is that when you click the start button, I'm going to have the session keep track of whether the start menu is open. And the reason for that is because I need the start menu to be kind of outside the context of the button. It needs to be outside even the taskbar itself. And the reason for that is because the taskbar is using a blur, which only works in Chrome, by the way, the backdrop filter. But I like using it, and it works on Chrome, so great. But one thing I've noticed is you can't have multiple backdrop filters within the same kind of context or the same like parent. Or yeah, with the same parent. So the taskbar has a backdrop filter, which makes everything look blurred behind it. And then the start button is here. So if you click the start button, at first I tried to have the start menu be inside the taskbar, but then it wouldn't show blur. And as soon as I got rid of the blur on the taskbar, then it would show. So I've decided to just kind of have them be outside of each other, and as to whether it's on or off, be kept track of in the session. And it might even make sense to have it in the session for some other reason at some point. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to go into the use session context state, and we're going to add these functions basically. So I don't know, functionality, I'll say. Functions might not be the right word. So we're going to have a Boolean called start menu visible. And then rather than do a setter, we're actually just going to pass the toggling function that I'm going to make. And it's going to be a toggling function that can have an override. So we can toggle, or you can say you want it closed, you want it open. And I do this to allow the kind of advanced different versions of focus that I want, because there is some intricacies to focus that we'll get into in regards to how the start menu functions within Windows, which we'll copy. Clone, copy, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to paste in some functions I made. So we just have the state, which is just a Boolean of start menu visible or set start menu visible, but we're not exporting set start menu visible because we're making our own toggle function. And it's just going to use the use callback. And like I said, we're going to pass in the option to say show menu of true or false. And all it does is, so if we pass in the Boolean, then we're going to use it. Otherwise, if it's undefined, we are going to, wait a minute. I guess false, would false just have it jump to this? That's interesting. Yeah, I guess false doesn't work in this way, because if I forcefully said toggle false, this would be falsy and it would just go to this. And now you'd imagine that the current state would be visible if someone's sending a request to hide it. So we might get the same result in that it'll convert it to false and then close it. But it's not the same spirit, because like, let's say if the start menu was closed and I specifically sent the command toggle false, which in my mind would keep it closed, or just would like close it again, that would actually open it, I think, because this would be falsy and it would go to this. This would be false, which would convert to true, which would mean now it's visible. So I'm going to have to fix this because I don't like that. I really don't like that idea. Now I'm just going to do type of to check. So I'm just going to say type of show menu. I guess I could just say doesn't equal undefined. Basically, I don't want to check if it's falsy. Isn't there a way to do that with like not null? Is that it? I forget how to use that. Let's take a quick peek and see if that's the way to use it. And if not, I have like 10 other ideas for what we can do. JavaScript, double question mark. I don't even know what the hell they call that selector. Null coalescing. Okay, the nullish coalescer is a logical operator that returns its right-hand side when the left-hand side is null or undefined. No. Wait, is that what I want? Yeah, that is what I want. So if it's null or undefined, use the right. Otherwise, use whatever I give you on the left, which returns the right-hand side operand if the left is any falsy. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted then. I think I knew that, but I came upon it too. Okay, so in my code before I had or, but this is actually better and more legit. So, okay, we'll do that. All right, now let's get to the exporting part. Alphabetically speaking, this should be there, I believe, after stack order, which is where I put it. No, wait, I didn't put it there in that case. Yeah, this is wrong. This should be here. S-T-A-C, S-T-A-R. Okay, so I had that alphabetically incorrect. Sue me. Don't really. Ooh. And that's just toggle menu, right? Okay, there we go. So that's that piece. So now we have the technology to toggle. Now this, I have to do the step that I pretty much forget every single time, which is to update the initial contexts to reflect what they can be. So in the case of set menu visible, it goes, where does it go? Start menu visible, right. It goes right there. So start menu visible, false by default, of course, and the toggle function does nothing by default until it's populated by the real context. This is just placeholder stuff, but it's kind of needed. Otherwise, TypeScript doesn't quite work the way you want it to. I mean, there might be a way around it, but I don't know the way around it. So if I don't know how to do it, I don't know if anyone does, is something a jerk would say, but that's not me. Okay, so next thing is the taskbar. It's the next file I noticed I changed. Okay, right. So here's where the start button is. So here's where we get into that thing I was saying where I want the start menu to be outside of the start button. So what I'm going to do is I need to turn this into a function, first of all. Actually, I'm just going to copy what I wrote and we'll just compare. It's easier than me retyping crap. So here's my modified version of it. So now I've turned it from just directly passing the DOM.jsx. Now it's a little function where I get is the start menu visible from the session. And if start menu is visible, we will render the start menu component, which I haven't made yet. And then this piece is essentially the same as this piece, but with one difference being that I've added tab index to the taskbar as -1. Now tab index -1 is kind of just a trick or a method of allowing focus and blur to be affected by that element. And the reasoning behind that is when you click the start button to open the start menu opens. If I click on the desktop, if I click on a window, if I click on a taskbar entry, the start menu closes. Or if I click on the start button also, the start menu closes. But if I click on the clock, or if I click on the empty tab, wait, if I click on the clock, does it close? Let me try. No. So if I click on the clock or I click on the taskbar, the start menu does not close. So that's why I want to have a tab index here on the taskbar so that anywhere in that area is now something that when a blur event occurs, now that will be the element that's referred to rather than it continuing to go back all the way to the body perhaps sometimes. So that's the logic there. That's all I had to change. So we will save that. We're making progress, but we don't have the start menu component yet. Let's make it. I think I made a folder for it actually. Let's see, did I? Yeah. So let's do that. So within the system within components system, we're going to make another folder called start menu. And within that, we'll have our usual index.tsx and we'll have our styled start menu.ts. So those are empty at the moment, but we'll populate those with things in a minute. Let's move back to the start button itself and just get that little piece of logic linked up as well. Again, it's very similar to what I did with the taskbar. So again, we switch it from being just JSX to also checking the session to get the toggle part of the function. And when you click the start button, so here, this is the same here. When you click it, there's now an on-click event that will toggle the start menu, basically. And the reason I'm not doing just like this is because if I do that, it's going to pass the synthetic event listener from React to the toggle start menu. And as if you remember, I made it so that if you pass a Boolean in there, it would, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Yeah, basically if you pass anything in there that's not falsy, it was considering that true and it would show the start menu. So I wanted to be very clear that when we're clicking the start button, we just want the normal toggle functionality. If it's open, close it. If it's closed, open it, basically. Whereas if I had it the other way, it would have always been considering opening it. There we go. So that's that piece now. So now if I click the start button, it would attempt to show the start menu, which doesn't yet exist. We could test it right here. If I click, it's going to probably crash and say no start menu. Yeah, I clicked, it crashed, and it says there's no start menu. Okay. So now that moves, let's move on to the start menu. I am just going to paste it in there as one big sloppy mess here. And we're just going to go over it because that's just easiest. And it required a lot of thinking to get it as close as I did. So first off, there's just the basics, the basic layout of a start menu component, and we export it. Within it, we get that toggle start menu. So the start menu itself has control over toggling and manually turning on off, because when you click the start menu, but when you click the start button, I want it to focus on the start menu right away, so that is the piece that controls also blurring. So once you click, you're in the start menu. If you click somewhere else, like I said, then we allow toggling to occur through this session function that we made. We also get a reference to the DOM element here, the menu itself, because we need to do some checking on it to see what we've clicked relative and whether or not we want to focus on it. and then we'll discuss this in a second. So the first thing, when the start menu component is visible, the first thing it's going to do, the use effect, once it's mounted, is it's going to focus on itself. That allows it to steal the focus, and then it can control what happens on a blur. And then as you see here, remember, again, we needed the tab index -1 so that it's a focusable blurrable item. Or if this were a button or something, which it's not. So it's a nav element, I think. Well, we haven't made it anything yet, but whatever it is, it's not a button. So it's not going to automatically have tab index, I think. And here's the ref we got, like I said. So we got focus, and then when you on blur of the start menu, I have this thing called maybe close menu. And the maybe is like a nice little way I like to put on certain functions to say, possibly it'll happen, possibly it won't. There's going to be some conditions in here. Now we look at what the conditions are. So we get the related target. And the related target is whatever stole the focus, basically. The thing, whatever. So on an on blur event, it tells you what took the focus, what it's blurring to, what it's going towards, from focus point of view. Now this took a little bit of time to figure out this logic, but it actually, I'm pretty proud of it for the most part. So it's not something I completely remember what the heck I did here. Let me just think. Can we skip it for a second, in fact? So without going into what I did here, let's just say that this logic checks to see if the menu should close, and if it does, then it closes it. Otherwise, it refocuses on the start menu. So the conditions where I would want to refocus on the start menu is if you click on the taskbar. So when you click on the taskbar, I don't want the menu to close, and I also want the focus to go back to the menu so that the on blur can properly work again. And also, what was the other one? Right, I also want to make it so that when you click the start button, that doesn't count. Now, because the reason I have to clarify that one case is because the start button is part of the taskbar menu. So typically, clicking the start button would also act like how I want the taskbar to act, where it wouldn't close, basically. And we don't want that. So the logic of what I've done here is I've said if the related target or its parent element is the next sibling of the menu, then close the menu. Isn't, sorry, not is. Here we go, we got isn't here. So what's the logic there behind that? I'm confused myself on it. Well, we're not there yet. Let's just try to think it out. So someone clicked somewhere else. Let's say they clicked the desktop. So that means this is now the desktop element, which is going to be the body in this case, because the desktop element's not clickable. So this is body, and then the parent of the body would be, this might be nothing. I don't know. Let's just say that's nothing in this case. So let's say, and then the menu's next sibling, if we go back to the taskbar, so this is where the menu would be. So its next sibling would be the taskbar. Wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Right. So I'm saying the start menu, if from the start menu you click off of it, then what is the code here? Right, then, so yeah, when you click off, we're going to check what the next we're going to look for this element, basically, the taskbar. We're looking for the taskbar, only the taskbar, I think. I'm trying to remember my own logic here. So this is supposed to be the taskbar. The menu item, the menu is this. So its next sibling is always going to be this. So I think this is just my lazy way of getting the taskbar element. So let's just for shits and giggles here, let's just call that the taskbar itself. So I think in the case of clicking the button, that's not the taskbar. So if we didn't have this piece here, then you click the button, now that's the button element. Is the button element the taskbar? It's not. So it would be false. Wouldn't it? Yeah. That's why I added this piece here to also check the parent element. So in the case of clicking the start button, the parent element's the taskbar, so that would work. Same with the taskbar entries. Same with the clock too, though. Okay. I think it makes more sense to me than I can explain it, but I was through a lot of trial and error, so it's a little hard for me to understand. Let's paste in the visual part and then let's do some testing. So here's the styled component part. This is the part here that's referring to this. Like, this could just as easily be a div. I think what did I use a div? I used a nav element, but at one point this could have just said nav, but now I've made it a styled component and I've added some styling to it. And the styling, of course, is important to it working. But let's get rid of a few of the things here. Actually, let's just get rid of, why did I do this? Well, this is okay because I do want to comment out each thing one at a time. So I think we have enough now where we can try it out. So we'll check it out at the top here. So when I click, oh, I haven't imported the start menu yet. Let me import it here. Oh, that's not the right thing. That import sucks half the time. So we'll just copy this from laziness and we'll say that that's start menu, actually just like that, start menu. And reorganize. There we go, we got our start menu now. So let's reload this. So now when I click start menu, nothing happened, but it didn't break. So something did happen, but visually we can't see it. So let's get to the first styling. First, let's add a background color. And I've basically added same as the taskbar color, but instead of 10%, I've gone an extra 2.5% light because that was my observation as to how it looked in Windows. So let's save that. I don't know if that's going to visually help us. So now when I click, still don't see anything because it's not positioned correctly. It doesn't have height. So we'll set a height and a width. So this is the minimum that I was able to get the start menu to be, was 390 pixels by 320 width. So if you take your Windows 10 task start menu, and you delete as much of the stuff as possible and then try to shrink it, that's as small as I was able to get mine. And I'm perfectly happy with that being the minimum. So now when I click, still don't see it. We need to position it. So let's position it absolutely. And let's say it's all the way to the left. And as far as the bottom, it's 30 pixels up, right? Because it's at the height of the taskbar at least. It has to be right above the taskbar. And luckily, because we're using styled components, we can just get that right out of the theme. We already had that. So I'll just say, hey, use the taskbar height. Okay, so let's save that. Now let's see. Now when I click, still not visible. And that gets into the z-index piece, is that it's behind the wallpaper and stuff. So one final step is fixing the z-index to 2, because we know that the wallpaper, I think, is like 1, I believe. So we'll just say 2. That should work in most cases. Maybe not. Maybe this should be a higher number. Does this go over windows that have greater than 2? It might, because this element is in a different position than where the windows are. So it's possible that I just have to say 2 to like get above something. We'll take a look at that later. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of stacking contexts. There's tools to help you with that. Anyways, let's see if z-index 2 was the last step. Click, there we go. So now we got our start menu. Look at that, that's cool. And toggling is working. So you see here, if I click I'm clicking the taskbar, it's not going away. I click the clock, it doesn't go away. But if I click the desktop, it goes away. And if I click the button and then click it again, it goes away. So that was the logic here. Let's print out this. Now let's console log this and see what the heck was this? What did I have here logically? Because I've confused myself why I needed that. Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah, I put this in the stupidest place. That should be there. There we go. So let's open this in another window so you guys can see the console log too. And let's take a moment to remember what the heck it was. Right, the start menu. So we open it. Now if I click here, yeah, there we go. So you see when I clicked, we get to see what elements occurred. So the related target was indeed the taskbar, and the main element was its parent in this case. So because the related element was the taskbar, which is also the direct sibling of the start menu itself, that matched and it didn't close. It refocused on the start menu. But if we click the desktop, then that was completely null. Okay, yeah, so the desktop, I guess, didn't have a tab index. So there was literally no related target, and there was no related target parent, of course, in this case, so it closed. Now, if we click again, now if we click the start button, you see here we got the button. That is not the parent, but then its parent is the nav, so that worked. Now, what was my concerned edge case? I guess I didn't have one. And we can click the menu too, that's fine. I guess the clock was my concern. So when I click the clock, okay, because the clock doesn't have its own focus, so it just goes right past it back to the start menu again. Now with entries, I think the entries are buttons, so they have their own focus. So if you click this, and then if I click a button, that has its own focus. So when I click it, yeah, you see it said, so the button, oh, okay, here was my concern. Ah, yes, right. So the parent of the button is the li, because there's a list for those entries. So that works okay, actually. So yeah, my concern was the structure here, because I was checking the target's parent, and I was worried that if this was the target, then that would be its parent, and it wouldn't have done what I expected. But this is untargetable, so this becomes the target, and it works. And then in this case, you can't really click the entries, because the entries have their own object, which is targetable, and then its parent is not this. So it works. And it's a little weird here, me using this parent element and next sibling. The only reason this logic works is because I know the positioning of these three elements. Another way I could have done it is I could have made references to these two elements and passed them into the start menu so that I could have properly dealt with them and checked the references in the DOM. But this is just another nice way that I've decided to do it that logically worked out for me. And I might refactor it one day, but for now this seemed fine. So that gave me the start menu, and visually we are missing one last piece, and that's the blur, like I was saying, and let's check it out. So that's how the start menu looks, and then we will add the blur and press save again, and there we go. Now we have a blurred start menu and a blurred taskbar. But as you see here, watch, maybe I can, let's see if I can break it in the code to show you what I'm talking about. Oh, I might not be able to because that blurs it off. Let's as a test, I'll show you guys. I'm gonna stop the ability for this blurring here. So once the start menu is open, it's gonna stay open, just so I could show you. Watch. So you see here, we got the blur here and we got a blur here. Yeah, it's blurry. Now, if I go into the nav for it here, you see here it's two separate nav elements. But if I take this and move it in here, yeah, so you see it still exists, but you see now the blur is gone. That was something I noticed with the backdrop. So this is, the taskbar still has its blur. Here, the parent, watch, and I'll increase it a bit. Yeah, so you can see that's very blurry. But watch, as soon as oh wait, I didn't increase the blur there. There we go, I increased it there. So you see right there, that's blurry and that's not. But watch, if I disable the blur on the taskbar, it will work on the start menu. Watch, I click it off, there you go, and now the start menu is blurry. So when it's like a parent-child relationship, it's like a one or the other scenario kind of, and there's probably some kind of cascading logic there. But I've solved that anyways by having it in a different position, so now they can both be blurry. And I'm hoping this works better. Last time I was using Portal, and I think that might have been a mess. Let's try the z-index thing, because that was another question I had. Oh, okay, yeah, that's wrong, I think. How is that on Windows? Let me try this. Yeah, the start menu should always be on top of the windows. Let me get the blur logic back here. Let me fix this. There we go, that's back. I don't think it's going to make a difference, though. So there's a window here. Okay, that's wrong. That was the concern I had. Where did I set z-index again? Right, that was in here. So the thing with the window logic is it is pretty much like one window z-index 1. I think it's like iterates 1. So I think like the first window is z-index 2, the second window is z-index 3. So watch, if I make it 3, I bet it'll go over top. Yeah, there we go. So the thing is though, I don't want that. Let's instead set something ridiculously high. I think the taskbar has a really high number. Let's just use the exact same number. Yeah, the taskbar is 1,000. And the taskbar and the start menu don't actually overlap each other. So let's set them both to 1,000 because they really should have the same kind of z-index. So there we go. So now, yeah. So as a test, several windows it should be over top of still. Yeah, there we go. If z-index was 3 now, it would have been over top of, it would have been under this one and not that one, which would have looked weird. But okay, that's a better z-index there, and it matches the taskbar. I might even just make this a constant. Let's do that, because that's a shared one. So in utils constants, let's just call it the elemental pqrst export const taskbar z-index. z index equals 1,000. There we go. And let's just use that in place of our magic numbers that I don't like. Although at the same time, this is a perfect opportunity to use styled components. Wait a minute, maybe I have to, in fact. Or do I have to do like, yeah, this is another theme thing. I'll get to it another day. Let's use milliseconds, because it's 1,000 too, right? That'll make sense. Okay, so yeah, that number should be part of the theme, but one day I'm going to be iterating over the theme and I'll add that to the list of things I need to do. So that, I think, was all of the start menu. Let's see what else was left. That was the styled part. That was, yeah, I copied those two directly. That was all of that. So let's just review again. Pretty simple there. Basically just the menu and the showing. As you see here, we don't have too much, but it's a cool start. I mean, just having that piece. So the next step will be I make a nav right here, and then here is where the items are going to go, but I'm just going to reuse the existing file explorer that I'm already using. Like the component that controls this window here and these icons here is the same one, and I'm going to also use it here, and I'm just going to have another folder for the start menu icons, which is actually what Windows does too. I mean, I don't know from a component point of view, but from the start menu is a folder, or at least you can add things to a folder that show up in the start menu, but in the background, who knows, you know? I mean, that's almost the whole point of this project, is that we don't know how Windows does the things it does in the background, and I'm essentially trying to recreate that from just like a logical approach. I wouldn't call it first principles necessarily, but I'm just trying to think how it could be done and just doing it that way, basically, in the cases where I need to. And luckily, things in the browsers, there's a lot you can already do. So anyways, I think we're done with this piece here. So let's just close these and see what I had in my notes for that. Start menu, Let's just say setup initial start menu view layout. Let's call it layout. I'd say that's true. So now I just need to make a left nav component and a start menu file component, and then I'll have a start menu. And then the next couple big things I need are, I need an open file dialog, I need a menu bar, and I need nested context menus. Once I have those three things, there's very little left to make up an OS, and then it's kind of just perfecting the apps, perfecting the animation, refactors, debugging, polishing. So we're getting close to having a lot of functionality. Start menu will be another big piece, and now we got a bit of the visuals there. Cool, and we're at the 2-hour mark, and I pretty much finished. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. Let's quickly make sure this all made sense. Yeah, these refactors are in the right place. These were all refactors. These were involving the apps and the system. Let's rename that to be apps and system instead of system and apps, because it's the order I did it in this time. And then yeah, for next stream, we'll do a little refactoring there. We'll look into this, and we'll pull some stuff off the wall. Hopefully, next time you see me, those 10 notes, maybe there'll be more, hopefully, quite a few more things I took from there. And I don't know if hopefully or unhopefully there'll be more there. I mean, I have more ideas, but I'm hoping to finish them and get them to fruition. Like I said, I was going to release on my birthday, so that's 6 months from now, 5 months, 29 days from today. So expect to see the release there, and we'll have a launch party for anybody that's interested. It's gonna be a fun little event. Hopefully, I'm excited for it, but it's half a year away, and I guess we're at the point where we can wrap it up and say thanks for checking out another stream. If you liked what I did, please throw me a like and subscribe. This is a shorter one because we're only at 2 hours, but I feel like we covered a lot. You know, we were able to talk about a lot. We got a lot done. And yeah, I think we're ready to kind of just call it a night on this one, because I'm feeling a little lower energy today. Maybe because I had my Red Bull too early, you know. I guess that's credit to Red Bull that you got to have it at the right time, you know. I probably should have had it at 7 instead of like 6 or something. Had another hour in me. But thanks for going on this ride with me again, guys. A lot of refactors, bit of Webamp. Thanks again to Daniel and Alex for throwing some comments in there and checking out my stream. And for anyone else that came, and for anyone that comes after and wants to comment, thank you as well. So I'm gonna end it there. Yeah, that's the end of it. So thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.